The Aftermath, yeah! This time around, rather than the usual previously on Avatar segment, we actually get a whole new speech from Tarlok.
These revolutionaries who call themselves equalists are not interested in equality at all. Chief Beifong was supposed to protect Republic City. She has failed us all.
Honestly, his entire little speech here is a really good example about how politicians will use fear-mongering tactics to further divide people. This also hints to us what exactly it was that let him agree to put on the probe-ending finals. He wanted to paint Chief Beifong in a negative light once the aftermath happened, which, you know, it takes a pretty scummy person to purposefully agree to putting civilians in potential danger just on the off chance it means he can get someone in power who's more willing to listen to him. Anyways, we see that since the arena is being shut down after the attack, it means the brothers have to find somewhere else to live.
You can come live on Air Temple Island with me.
Asami already invited us to live in Urtahed's giant mansion!
I'll admit it's a little weird to start off the episode like this. It's a bit of a real tone shift to go from
Republic City is at war
to golly gee, my crush is staying at his girlfriend's house. But I'm also willing to forgive this. At this point in time, Korra isn't really working on the job of trying to stop the Equalists yet. And the brothers and Asami definitely aren't working on that either. The four are still teens, and they're just still growing up. And honestly, I think it's smart to show the brevity people have after traumatic events. Also, from just a storytelling perspective, it's nice to have fun times to help balance out the dire times.
See you guys around. Sometime.
Why not tomorrow? I'd love to have you come visit the estate.
Also, this episode is really important because this is our first time actually getting Asami to hang out with Bolin and Korra. Up until this point, she's only existed within a bubble of being with Mako. Having the plot point of the brothers getting to move in with her makes sense from a story perspective, and also is a good excuse to get the four of them all together and hanging out. Asami is in desperate need of better fleshing out for her character right now anyways. Shout out to these lizard birds. I always thought they were super cool looking. Meanwhile, Chief Beifong finds evidence that a company called Cabbage Corp has been aiding the Equalists.
No! Not my Cabbage Corp!
While this is a cute reference to the classic gag from Avatar,
My cabbages!
I'm glad they didn't try to keep bringing it back. Not only does it just not work quite as well in this setting, but also I hate it when a sequel of something tries to just drag all of the old jokes from its predecessor back into the spotlight. Like, yeah, this joke was funny the first time. The more you repeat a joke, the less funny it gets. Also, I'd rather see a show like Korra finding its own identity and comedy over returning gags, rather than just trying to ride the coattails of its predecessor, you know?
Tano?
Except someone forgot to ask her father if we could stay here.
Yeah, but I smoothed it over with him.
Now pat me dry.
As you wish.
Listen, I love Bolin. He's #1 best character for a reason. But he can be an asshole sometimes, not gonna lie.
So, what do you have planned for us today? Let me guess. Shopping? Makeover?
See, this is the kind of stuff we really needed to better develop Asami. Cause yeah, at this point, all she's been is a pretty face with a suspiciously colored helmet. Getting a good look at her personal hobbies and interests, like taking self-defense classes, is an easy way to better establish her character. Also, what a fun way to build the friendship between her and Korra too. It's crazy, despite being introduced in episode 3, she really hasn't been an actual character until now. Usually when a show takes 7 episodes to develop one of the main characters, they don't do nearly as good a job as The Legend of Korra does with Asami. Even with the more limited screen time compared to Korra and the brothers, Asami gets to really shine this season. Also, this is just a super fun way to establish the extent of Asami's driving skills, which will come into play later when Team Avatar does finally get officially formed. Damn, I forgot how fucking tall Asami is. Has she always just towered over Korra like this?
I misunderstood the assignment.
Like, this has always been such a weird little moment. Like, why did we have to see this? Is this a joke? I guess?
No, I assure you, everything is going exactly as planned.
Why, that incredibly vague comment is just suspicious enough to set off my avatar senses.
Trust me, by the end of the week, we'll be ready to strike.
What? Businesses don't ever talk like that. I would know. I lived my entire life trapped in a training camp in the North Pole. This vague-ass wordplay is definitely enough to send me off to get the police. I don't want to sound too negative. I actually do really love this episode, but I always felt like this plot point was weirdly contrived. Like, if they just give Hiroshi dialogue that's like something she would actually be suspicious about, then I'd be more willing to buy it. As it is, he just said some vague business talk and Korra got suspicious out of nowhere.
You think Mr. Sato manufactured those gloves for the Equalists, then framed Cabbage Corp?
Like, that's a really big leap in logic there. Based only on his words, I assure you, everything is going exactly as planned. Luckily, the Cabbage Corp investigation has bought us enough time. Trust me, by the end of the week, we'll be ready to strike. Where did Korra pull framing Cabbage Corp or manufacturing the Equalist gloves from? Maybe if she saw him with a weird glove thing or fiddling with something that generated electricity, I'd believe it more. Or maybe if we saw how she got to that conclusion in the first place. As it is, it kinda just feels like there's a whole 5 minutes missing from the episode where we would have seen her reaching these conclusions.
He does have the means. And he has a motive.
What is it?
A firebender killed Sato's wife during the break-in.
What a convenient thing to only bring up literally just right now. Like, I don't know, in my memory, I thought Asami brought this up to Mako back when he told her about his scarf in the carriage. You know, he talked about his parents, I thought she talked about her mom, but I guess that's just a false memory I've put in my head. Ah yes, when the police do an investigation, it's always customary to bring the person who's accusing them of the crime. Seriously, why did they bring Korra? She knew this was going to end up awkwardly for her, even if her hunch was right.
But I think your father might be involved with the Equalists.
What? I don't believe this.
Like, duh, Korra. This is a big accusation you're throwing around. Also, I just want to point out how incredible the animation is on Asami's face here with this line. 10 out of 10, very impressive. Like,
My #1 competitor was knocked out of the game. It's providing me an opportunity to strike the market.
see? That's some regular business stuff, and yet Korra is just like, so weirdly convinced.
I don't care how cooperative Hiroshi is being. I know he's lying.
She is so dead set on mistrusting this guy over 3 vague sentences she overheard. Her conviction is completely unfounded. Hell, Hiroshi didn't even sound all that sinister on the phone earlier.
Cabbage Corp investigation has bought us enough time.
Jazz it up with intense music all you want. Nothing about what he says seems remotely like enough evidence to convince Korra he's that much of a bad guy. And you know what the real shitty thing is about all of this? Despite the fact that all of this feels so out of left field, Korra made gigantic leaps in logic and ran off of vague assumptions. In the end, she's right. It's literally exactly like how Korra thought it was going.
What do you have on Hiroshi Sato?
He manufactured those gloves for the Equalists.
I knew it!
The lies you people come up with just to persecute my father.
So let's talk about Asami. Remember what I said when she was first introduced? What's that? Her green goggles and dark outfit feel awfully reminiscent of the Equalists masks? Don't worry about it. The thing is, at this point in time, I still didn't know if we could actually even trust her. We've barely gotten to know her so far, and she's been very vocally against the police accusing her father of working with the Equalists. Especially now that we know Sato was doing shady shit, it was easily called into question if Asami was also on her dad's side in this war. Now this is badass. Like, duh. Of course, Toph taught her daughter how to see through the Earth's vibrations, but still, what a rad way to establish this skill in Linz's arsenal, and also to use this skill to help her solve this current problem. Remember, I said I loved this episode. It really is from this point of the episode onward that makes me love it. All of the setup stuff with trying to find out if Hiroshi was innocent or not is all sort of meh, but now things are kicking off. It sure is convenient that the Equalists always hang gigantic posters of Amon everywhere, huh?
And I'm guessing those are the new weapons.
So, like, do these things give anyone else Bioshock vibes?
I'm afraid you won't be able to metal bend that wall. It's solid platinum.
Not even your renowned mother could bend a metal so pure.
Learning science stuff with Korra, yay! Personally, I really like the introduction of platinum to the world of Korra. It's an interesting and actually smart way to work around how kind of overpowered metal benders are. Like, the wooden cell from Last Airbender was a unique way to circumvent Toph's metal bending. But it would be a little ridiculous to see all the villains building things out of just wood. Having a balance of strengths and weaknesses for each type of combative ability is a big part of what makes action scenes and fights in shows like this still interesting and intriguing. And now we get one of the most amazing badass fights from the whole series. This is why I love this episode. Not only is the choreography amazing, but the soundtrack goes with this weird, haunting melody. It just gives the entire scene such a menacing vibe. Top 5 highlights from this fight. Beifong stabbing the guy. The metal benders' crisscross move here. Tenzin's awesome standing version of the air scooter. Tenzin's beautifully animated air shots. Number 1, Mako and Bolin dropping Beifong on her face and then using Tenzin's arms like he's a puppet.
Dad, stop!
Join me, Asami.
And what a climactic moment for Asami here. Honestly, at this point, Asami has been way more suspicious than anything Hiroshi has done prior. Asami had only 2 modes for the most part. She was either very stone-faced, you know, generally happy, but not too much emotion, or she was angry and frustrated. The only time she actually looked legitimately happy was when she was racing. And it was after she had spun out that other racer when she had this almost devilish smile. It's hard to tell if this was meant to be sinister or just confidence. And the first time I watched this episode, I had no idea which way Asami was going to go. And apparently the writers themselves weren't even sure of this either. Initially, the plan for Asami was going to be that she was going to be a villain. That's why they based her design off of Lust from Full Metal Alchemist. That's why she's designed to be a femme fatale type of character. That's why she's got all these equalist colors all over her. But somewhere along the way with production, they changed their mind, probably because she's so lovable. And they decided to make Asami a part of Team Avatar, which was probably the best decision they ever could have had. Not only do I think it's important to have a non-bender on Team Avatar, especially during the whole Equalists debacle, but also it's given Asami a unique design compared to the norm. A character whose design was intended to be for a villain really helps to subvert those tropes. I really love it when characters take stereotypes when it comes to their design and flips it on its head, and Asami is a fantastic example of that.
I love you, Dad.
Yes, Queen! Slay! Slay! Slay your enemies! Ruler of one of the realms of men! Smite down those that oppose you!
First thing in the morning, I'm handing in my resignation. I'm gonna find my officers, but I'm gonna do it my way. Outside the law.
So, in case you couldn't tell, I have some mixed feelings about this episode. When I say I love it, I do mean that. It's just a shame that a big chunk of it hinges on what feels like such a contrived concept. If they just gave me something a little more concrete to make me actually understand and believe in Korra's convictions against Hiroshi, then it would have been fine. As it is, though, it feels more like convenience. Like, she just so happens to hear him say something just vague enough on the phone. I don't know, this plot point feels a little clumsy. But beyond that, the episode is a lot of fun. I didn't really bring it up, but the brothers and Asami get a lot of fun little moments with each other too.
Just stay put until the chief comes back. That sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Why? Because you said it.
My thoughts on Hiroshi as a villain is complicated. On one hand, it gave Asami a lot of character development for this first season. His villainous turn was the biggest aspect for Asami's character for a while. But on the other hand, I don't know, maybe seeing the perspective of people who are wrongfully accused of being equalists would have been interesting. It is a topic that they touch on in the next episode. Maybe it's just the fact that so far, other than Asami and Pema, every non-bender they've come across has been an equalist. But there's not much point in lingering on what-if concepts for Hiroshi being a good guy. And after all, he is a very compelling and interesting villain. And it makes Asami's character all the more interesting too. This is what I was talking talking about before, how this episode gives Asami a lot of development and fleshing out for her character. In this episode alone, Asami went from a pretty rich girl who dates Mako to being a badass at self-defense, using the Equalist's gloves against them, a competitive racer, and a skilled driver, with a strong personality and conflicted family life, being at odds with her own father, despite the fact he's the only family she has left. This episode was all Asami. Everything else around her character wavered in and out of quality, but as far as the important parts go towards developing her, this episode is a big win. Next time, we're diving into my favorite episode of season 1. I know I've had loved a lot of episodes, but this one is my favorite. We finally got all 4 of our heroes together, and things are going to get crazy. I am super excited, and I hope I'll see you there.
Nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Smash his kneecaps and he'll talk, okay? I'm at a parent-teacher conference. Anyways, you said Timmy's enjoying finger painting. That's great!
Shout out to my $10 patrons. You're all amazing. Nako, James Dodds, Cool Duck, Andrew, Ramiel, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, Classy Critic, Noah Perkins, Sunny Shy, Azoth, Great Bar, Pentamenta, Jake, Amber, Hype Man, Zero to Hero, Keithan, Isaiah, Joseph, Scaring Crows, Danny Boy, Mary, Messiah Complex, Jacob, Renji, and Virus O. Sorry it's taken so long to get back to Korra. I wanted to do this months ago. But I had Magical Girl May happen and I got busy, and then after that I had a lot of other projects I wanted to do, and then Ice Queendom started happening, and I was doing that, and I just kept getting pushed back, and now I'm finally back to Korra. I'm gonna try to keep Korra monthly as best I can. Jeez Louise. Any and all thoughts you have about this episode, or the rest of Korra, or Asami in general, leave all your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. I can't wait to see them. I can't wait to get back to Korra. My god. Been waiting for this for so long. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.